Hey everybody.
Sean and Kelly here, Price and Price Group of Samson Properties, and what are we talking about?
Today we're talking about 5 reasons to buy versus rent.
Yes, can't wait to talk about this one.
I know, this is great.
Here we go. Okay, so we're going to jump into the 5 reasons, or to 5 reasons. There's a lot of reasons to do it, but the 5 top reasons, in our humble opinion, about why you should.
These are facts.
These are facts.
These are factuals, not just our opinion.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to jump into these, and they do apply even in a seller's market because what we're about to go through, it applies in a seller's market.
More on that in a moment. Okay,
right.
let's just forget our fumbling through that part and jump into number 1. Building equity, right?
Yes.
I always like to say that your house is like your savings account, right?
Yep.
I love it. It's your savings account.
Yep,
Right?
yep. So what do you mean by building equity? Well, if you buy a house, let's say at $1 million, and you put down 20%, you have $200,000 in equity, and every time you make a mortgage payment, that equity builds. Now it only builds a little bit at the beginning, but as time goes on, it builds more and more.
And it's not just your payments; it's the increase in the house value.
Well, we'll get into that. Yeah, that's good. That's another step.
I just tried. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're getting ahead of
you're putting my cart ahead of the horse.
That's right. That's not going to work out there. So that's important. And if you're renting, you may be paying the same payment, but 100% of that is going to the owner. You get no equity. There's no value being saved.
You're putting your money into the owner's piggy bank.
Yep, building their piggy bank. That's right. Okay.
Which is why, if you want to learn how to invest for your people.
That's right. That's right. Let somebody else build your piggy bank.
That's right.
Biggie bank.
Biggie bank.
Biggie bank. Okay, so number 1 is equity. And again, equity is simply achieved by your down payment, and it's achieved by your debt pay down. Okay?
Yes.
Number 2 are tax benefits. So the first thing on this is...
We are not tax advisors,
Yes.
nor would we ever want to be, I don't think. I think that's one of the things. There are a lot of things I want to be. That's not one of them.
I enjoy playing the tax game.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy reading about the tax game,
Yeah,
but I don't want to ever do that. So what tax benefits do you get? From our understanding, you can get, and it depends on your personal situation, what your write-offs are.
Always talk to your tax advisor.
But you can write off your property taxes. You have
interest.
Property the interest on your mortgage payments. Closing costs. When you go to sell the property, you can actually write off some of the renovations that you put in, the home improvements that you put in.
I'm big on that one.
Yes.
That's how I get Mr. Man over here to let me do a lot of improving.
It's a tax benefit. So make sure that you keep receipts when you're improving your house.
Yes.
Okay.
And bill yourself if you do it yourself. I have my own invoicing system.
Maybe that would work. You've been billing us?
Yeah.
Have I been paying you?
No.
Okay, next. Number 3.
In some ways, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. Number 3 is appreciation. This is what you were trying to jump to.
This is what I was, I love the appreciation. Yes. And for all of you guys who say, what about when the house prices are going down? That's what they're saying. Well, Sean has a handy dandy graph that you need to make sure you go.
I'll pop it up right here.
Time.
So, and on this handy dandy graph, it shows you that in less than 10% of the years, there's been a negative growth. Fewer than. And even in those, only 3 or 4 of those years was significant. The rest of it was like 1% or 2%. And then it recovered.
And those significant ones, let's add in,
were the
housing
08
crisis, and that will not happen again.
Yep, and there has not been a single decade that has been a net loss. So the appreciation averages over the last 40 plus years averages about 3 to 5%.
Is that nationwide or our area?
Nationwide.
Wow-wee.
So here it could be higher.
Yeah.
So appreciation, if you buy a $700,000 house, let's go low end, you get 3% appreciation. That's $21,000 per year that you're adding in value to the property. Mm-hmm. You own it 10 years, you just added $210,000 to the property, plus your debt pay down, and you got some money building up in that savings account.
Yes, you do.
That's right. That's right. So appreciation is a huge benefit. And the beautiful thing about it is you're getting... Let's run a little bit of math here.
You're making me wait for my favorite.
Yes. We're in a quick scenario. You have a $700,000 house. You had to put down $140,000 because you put 20% in.
Yeah.
You get $21,000 in appreciation every year. you're not earning $21,000 on a $700,000 investment. You're earning $21,000 on a $141,000 investment, because that's all the money that you put into it. So whatever that math comes out to, that's what you're actually earning on your money.
So if it, like,
the beauty of leverage.
Right?
Plus your tax benefits if your accountant says you can have them. Okay.
I wonder what, if I tried to do like the captioning, they would do for those things that just came out of my mouth.
Oh, I've got them.
That'll be fun.
I'll figure that one out. All right. Okay, what's next?
My favorite.
We're gonna be here
my
forever.
favorite. Renovations.
Get comfortable.
Well, let's talk about your renovations. You have
But first,
so many.
Let's talk about the renovations versus if you were renting. Can you renovate?
Can't do
Can
it.
you renovate freely?
No. You cannot.
And what happens if you do renovation and it adds value? Do you get your money back?
You don't get your money
You
back.
build the money for the
I've
landlord.
gotten in trouble for renovating a rental before.
But then we bought it.
And then they walked in
Yeah.
and they said, oh, well, just ask permission next time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And then when we bought it,
And
we had
then
to pay
we
more
bought
for
it
it.
and we didn't have to pay. That's why the second time, so we love doing this. That's why the second time we did it, we were like, no,
No renovations
okay. You don't need to
until-
walk
that's right.
through or
No
that's
inspection.
how
We
you,
don't.
okay, what he said. I really did do some renovations. Anyway, she didn't walk through and see it before she charged us more.
Yes. So the beauty of the renovations
Don't cheat like I do.
Don't cheat. The beauty. Don't bill yourself on taxes.
I bill myself for taxes. Our accountant loves my invoices.
So, okay. That's true.
Okay, because I research what the average cost of a closet renovation is, and I charge us that.
Smart.
And then I send it to the accountant.
This is not tax advice, and if this is not a good idea, Mr. IRS, please don't watch this video.
Or contact our accountant who
talk to
said,
our
this is a
accountant.
great idea, Kelly, you're awesome.
That's right. Okay. It actually really is a good idea.
I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to be all conservative here. I'd be like, yes,
I
we
keep
gotta
my
do
materials
it. Yes,
cost,
right.
my labor cost,
Yeah.
everything is right, and we have a whole like S corp. I got this.
Yeah,
I paved the way for smooth sailing on any renovations I feel like doing.
This is true. Okay, and if you're doing the renovations, there's a couple benefits to that. Number one, you can customize your own house. You can't customize a rental without permission.
Yeah.
Number two, if you do those renovations correctly, it does add value to the house, which is forced appreciation. We talked about appreciation before. You buy a little bit of a dated house and then you update that house. You just force the appreciation and actually earn more money.
I should do, a little case study on our Niceville house.
You should.
For how long we rented it, what we rented it for, how much we wasted in rent until we bought it, and then the renovations, that would be so much fun.
It's
because
great.
when we sold it after the renovations, it was legit.
It was legit.
Yes.
You're right. Okay, and number 5. So we have so far, well, you know what, we'll summarize afterwards. Number 5, stability. So what do we mean by stability? I'll tell you what I mean by stability. Financial stability. Because once you establish your mortgage payment, it does not go up unless your taxes go up, but the actual loan that you borrowed, that principal and interest payment never changes for the 30 years that you have the mortgage.
You don't have to worry about your landlord deciding for whatever's going on in their personal lives or nationwide when they get scared, like, oh my gosh, I have to sell this now, and then, hey, I'm just gonna give you your notice, and by the way, you're out. You could have rented there for 10 years, 20 years, and they could still decide to sell. God forbid they pass away and their kids don't want to keep renting, goes into a trust, it sells, and you're out of a home, and that's not anything in your control. Personally, I can't sleep well at night with that. However, there's a flip side of the coin of stability, which kind of like, don't worry, it's okay. You don't have to die there and live there forever just because you buy. You can still
We both get sick at the thought of dying in whatever house we're buying.
So I love owning a home, and I love fixing it. Like, you have to really live in it, and so that you know what it wants you to do to it, like, and then you make it happen, and then after a few months, it's like, oh man, time to move on, and you can do that. You can do that with the more money, with the appreciation and the renovations. You have more money to roll it into the next thing, so you don't have to worry about when I just would get bored. That's okay, baby. Move on.
Our next video is going to be the strategy on live and flip.
Live and flip.
Live and flip.
That's our coined phrase.
Yes.
You can Google it. You'll see it everywhere. It's called the Live and Flip Strategy by Sean and Kelly Price. If you don't see it, it's your browser.
I just made that up, so you're not going to see that shit. But we will do a video on that. But you're absolutely right. So for stability, you're not as long as you make your payments, the landlord can't kick you out.
We're assuming everyone we're talking to is like
gonna make the payments. Yes. Also, the rent will not increase. So if finances are a concern, 10 years from now, your payment will be the same as far as the principal and interest is concerned.
Yeah.
So,
and you decide what appliances are replacing the ones that break down.
Yeah, and get a home warranty. You're bitter about the appliances, and we had some rental stories.
So I am very, very frugal, very frugal.
Yeah.
Except for my peanut butter, my toilet paper, and my appliances. And maybe one or two other things, but not very many. I can't even think of them right now.
All
Peanut
right.
butter.
Okay, so what are the toilet paper is really important.
That's
All right,
really
so
important.
what are the 5 benefits of buying versus renting? Number 1, you have equity. Number 2, you have the tax benefits. Talk to your tax accountant, your tax advisor. Number 3, we have appreciation. Little note on appreciation.
We always pause me before renovations. Stop doing that.
If for some reason you buy and the market dips a little bit, just don't sell when it dips. Wait for it to appreciate. Number 4.
Renovation!
Number 5, stability. Yes. Renovation and stability, those are important for you.
Those are the most important things in my life.
And for me, it's appreciation, equity, and tax benefits.
Yeah. I give you all kinds of appreciation, equity, and tax benefits, and you give me all kinds of renovations and stability.
That's right.
Actually, that's a fact. You do give me that.
Yeah, same. Yeah. All right.
I do give you tax benefits.
You do.
By being your spouse, by giving you all the babies.
By billing us for your
rehab
models.
You, only not making you pay for our.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if you have any questions about this, I'm a very lucky man. If you have any questions about this, please let us know. Oh, bonus. Yes. So it's Halloween. So what happens? Do you have to? Is it required to disclose if somebody dies in a property? All right, so is it required in the state of Virginia?
I'm going to read to you the exact language, okay? And keep in mind, it's long.
And I printed it very small. And this is exact language from Google AI. The short answer is no, but here is the long answer.
Yes.
Okay, go
and
for it.
We're going to be able to look at this and know my age because I'm not reading it like this.
And notice she is reading it because I don't have my glasses on.
Okay. No, in fact, Virginia does not require realtors to disclose deaths that occurred on a property, including suicides, murders, felonies, unless the felony was the manufacture of methamphetamines, baby. If you get the methamphetamines going on in there, you've got to disclose that shit.
You get meth and amphetamines, and you are in trouble. You cannot have a meth lab, you have to disclose that. That is a material defect because it's toxic.
If you're going to have a meth lab, be sure to disclose that. And then they'll set you up in a whole different facility. You won't have to worry about.
You won't have to worry about concrete walls, no absorption.
It's fine.
Yeah, the doors are fine. Nobody can break in.
Your family's going to be safer while you're gone. Yep. Okay, so good thing. Okay, this is because Virginia is a buyer beware state, and sellers are only required to disclose material defects or violations of the building code or meth labs.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, how rude of me. Forget me, my pocket is making a rude noise. Okay, sorry about that, baby. Okay, however, if a buyer asks the property about the property's history, the seller is legally required to be truthful.
So that brings in a question.
If the seller is not upfront, the buyer may pull out of the agreement due to mistrust. Let me finish this real quick and then I want to get to your question. A real estate professional or local attorney can provide more information about what is required when selling a home in Virginia.
Okay, so let's have a non-legal conversation. So we are not lawyers and attorneys.
This is an opinion-based conversation?
An opinion-based conversation. So if a buyer asks specifically, did somebody die in this house? And you know that they did. My understanding of that interpretation, and this is my understanding in general, is yes, we have to disclose that. If they ask specifically, did somebody die in this property? But if they say, is there anything I need to know about this property? That's vague.
I mean, how do we know what someone needs to know?
Yeah.
If I ask that question, I need to know. But I'll look on if like our houses were on old burial grounds or I research it myself as much as possible because it does matter to me.
Yeah.
So I've asked before I've said, were there deaths? Were there murders?
Mhm.
Were there this? Was there an abusive thing? I like get so crazy
Yeah.
in my questions to the point that it's probably ridiculous and annoying, but
Yeah.
so do that if
Yeah.
it matters to you.
Yeah, I would ask directly if it matters.
Yeah.
And if somebody asks directly, then yeah, you gotta disclose it. Because you have to be honest. You have to provide that honesty.
Would you ask? Would it matter to you?
It wouldn't matter to me. No, unless I had a creepy feeling when I was inside, but it wouldn't matter to me.
Why?
Because
Like, what if the
somebody's-
creepy feeling doesn't happen until after you've moved in?
well, I don't watch the same movies you do as much as you do. I do watch the same movies, but not as often. All right. Anyway, happy Halloween, everybody.
Hey, if you want a good Halloween movie list, I'm your girl.
That's
I'll
right.
send you one.
That's right. Just reach out, text Kelly or call Kelly or email Kelly and she'll send it to you.
Yeah,
Okay. I wonder how that's going to look on the thought bubbles. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye. All right, everybody. It's time for this week's new and improved market snapshot.
That's right. What's happened in the Northern Virginia real estate market in the last 7 days in under 5 minutes, and we have a special surprise. Okay, what is the special surprise, you may ask? Well,
I had my way with the graphics and the colors.
all right, so let's dive on in here. Let's see if you can do as good of a job as always. All right, here we go. Okay, what we got?
Okay, everybody, that black wavy line-ish with all the dots. Does that look as good as I thought it did?
Yes.
Okay, that's the buyer activity. That is the number of houses that went under contract in the Northern Virginia real estate market in the last 7 days. The teal line, that is the seller activity, okay? So that's gonna be the number of homes that were sold in the Northern Virginia real estate market in the last 7 days.
That's right, that's right. So why did we use the last 7 days? Because if you are using sold data, that information is basically going to be old. It's at least 60 to 75 days old. You cannot make today's decisions based on old data, so we look at the last week so we can make real-time decisions. Basically, this black line that Kelly was talking about, where'd my mouse go? There it is. This is the demand, and then the teal line is the supply. So the gap between
It's our brain color.
That's right. The gap between the supply and the demand tells us how strong the market is, either in the favor of the sellers or the buyers. Since demand is higher than supply, we have a seller's market. So you see our neutral line right here in the middle, which indicates a normal market. You can see that over the past year, we've pretty consistently been in the seller's market, and that is true right now. We're stabilizing at a certain, a basic level of seller activity, which is about the same as what we did last year at this time. So what does this mean for buyers?
Well, all I can think about is, do we like seeing them side by side more than one at a time?
We might.
This is like jacking with my eyes a little bit and my whole vibe.
Okay, well, maybe we'll try that next week and we'll see what vibe works better for you.
So back to your question, Sean.
So what does this mean for buyers?
This means for buyers that it's, as usual, a great time to buy.
And it also means that you have to be very strategic. Now, it is
Yeah,
a
you don't
seller's...
usually ask me that question.
I don't. I
usually
do
was like
last
zoning
time.
out and thinking about the graphics and everything else. I
So-
don't know if you should do that anymore.
So here's what we're seeing for buyers in the market right now. There are properties that are sitting. There are properties that if they're not priced perfectly, I usually say appropriately, but pretty much perfectly for their condition, they're sitting for a few weeks and you'll see a little bit of a price drop.
I gotta throw something in.
If they are priced perfectly, they're going very quickly. Go. So buyers,
I'm good at this.
be prepared. Sellers, it's still a good time to sell because there are buyers out there. You can see that we are in a seller's market. So if you need to sell right now, it's a great time. Come spring, we don't know what the market's going to look like at that time, and there will be more sellers on the market, so there may be more competition. Right now, you have no competition. Oh man, that was some serious tangent action. Okay, for both of us. All right, guys.
You're coming to the dark
That's
side.
right. All right, guys. If y'all have any questions, let us know. If this totally confused you, that was intentional, so you have to reach out to us to find out what's really going on the market.
That's right.
That's right. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Hey everybody, it's time for this week's Mortgage Minute with Tatiana, I believe Lopez from Prosperity Home Mortgage. Hello, you naughty little girl.
Hello. It's not my fault, I promise.
All right, just lay it on us.
All
Tell
right,
us about the
yeah,
rates.
what's going on?
Let me tell you.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, the rates went up from the last week. You can see they increased to 6.65 on conforming, on conventional, and FHA it's 6.33. Jumbo is just slightly better at 6.61, slightly better than conventional conforming. So, you might expect that rates would fall right now after the Federal Reserve cut the rates a half a point last month. But, here's the thing. The Fed can influence mortgage rates, but it does not set them. Instead, mortgage rates mainly follow a different number, the yield on a 10-year Treasury bond. And that yield has gone up recently for a number of reasons, including, based on investors are expecting the Fed to be a little more cautious in cutting rates after the jumbo size cut last month. That said, despite the recent uptick, mortgage rates are still more than a full point lower than they were last year. So, and I think some people are waiting on, what's going to happen with the election, and they're maybe hoping that rates are going to go down because of that. There's really no way to tell. And as I like to say, the better is enemy of good. And if someone needs to lock the rate now because they're settling soon, I wouldn't wait for that.
That's a good point. You keep out because you missed it.
Yeah. The first time I heard that is when I decided to marry you. Just kidding.
That's when you heeded the advice finally. You were looking out for me. That's the one situation that the better was the friend of good.
That's true.
And we've actually had a lot of conversations with buyers in the last 2 weeks with regards to why are the rates going up? I don't understand. So I'm so glad we did that video because I could just kind of send it to them.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to go back, about 2 weeks ago, we did a mortgage minute subject talking about why the rates did not come down after the rate cut from the Feds.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think too it was all that hype that everybody had starting the end of last year. It's like, oh, in 2024, the Feds are going to cut the rates. They're going to cut the rates, and then they kept
kicking it down.
Yeah. And I think kind of waiting for people to almost get weary, get kind of worn out and tired from the wait. And I feel like finally maybe people are starting to realize that
this is the new reality.
You know what? We're not going to go back. It's taken so long for people to stop hoping that it's going to go back to 3%,
And I don't know why they're hoping for that, because if it does, then they're going to pay way more for the property.
I don't think they are anymore. What do you think, Tatiana? Do you still have anybody asking about the rates in the 3s and 4s?
Well, yeah, people still, hoping that that's where it's gonna go down to, but I don't think it's gonna happen in our lifetime. But
barring some tragedy.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that the media is the problem, honestly. And I'm calling the media because, they were screaming, rates went down, but now rates are going up and they're silent. They're not talking about that. If rates is going to go down a little bit now, and right now it's trending up, but let's say it will improve slightly, they're going to be all over news again, and people will completely miss that part where the rates actually went up almost the whole percentage point, and now it's improved just a little bit. So it's, to me, they just going after flashy news, but they don't, it actually doesn't help clients at all.
They're chasing eyeballs versus actually giving the whole picture. They're just chasing eyeballs, searching for clicks and all that.
Exactly.
Chasing eyeballs. That's right. They want eyeballs on them running down the street.
That's terrible. It's good for Halloween.
All right. Okay. Anything else on the interest rates? Any other bad news? Spooky
bad
stories
news
for
in
Halloween.
here. Just, the good news is you can lock the interest rate now and then refinance later. That's a good news.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the good news. That's always the good news.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. And it's a good market for buyers right
Yeah.
now, and sellers as well. But it's a little more favorable to the buyers with the rates doing this and it being in the fall. So yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Right. So earlier this week we did a home buyer Q&A seminar, and one of the questions that we got in that seminar was, what are the options for first-time home buyers? What special programs are there? And we get these questions all the time from people. So let's get this on video. Let's get your answer on video so I don't have to keep sending people to you to make you repeat yourself. What are the options for the general DMV area, for Northern Virginia, Maryland? I don't know if we have DC on here, but what are the options for first-time home buyers?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, typically first-time buyers, they do get better interest rate than those that are not first-time home buyers. There is Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They have adjusters to the interest rate when a person is a first-time home buyer. And so even if they put in money down and not taking advantage of first-time home buyer programs that help with down payment and closing costs, they still have benefit by getting a reduced interest rate. It
Okay.
does have some income limits. If income exceeds certain percentage of median income, then that adjuster goes away. But if you are within that limit, and I'm not going to say what it is because it depends on the county, right? So those median limits
Yeah.
vary. So, but that's one benefit for first-time home buyers. But in general, if you're talking about programs that help buyers with down payment assistance or grants, in Virginia, every state has their own programs. In Virginia, we have VH, previously known as VHDA. Maryland is MMP. And there's some other local grants that different depending on the county. So let's just quick overview. I don't want to overwhelm people, but so let's talk about Virginia housing. They can visit to vhda.com, and the way the program works, they help with down payment. So typically you put 3% down. Let's say if it's conventional loan, you put 3% down. If FHA puts 3.5% down. So they would get 97% loan, and then they get additional second loan for 3% down payment. And if they have a good credit score above 680, they can get a 4.5% loan that would cover the 3% down payment and 1.5% closing costs. So half of the
Oh, that's
closing
great.
costs will be covered by that. So that's one option that VH has. Actually, they made a change to their policy, and the buyers that are not first-time home buyers also can get this loan as well. They have,
Oh, wow.
yeah, they have, some a little bit higher interest rate than if you are a first-time home buyer, but this is a pretty good option for them as well.
Yeah.
This program has income limits, and again, it depends on number of members in the household and the county. It varies, but they're actually pretty reasonable limits. It's not something very small. Even 200 over 200,000 in
Oh, wow.
some areas and
great.
some options. So this is something that people can look up at vhda.com.
Okay.
Another option, so in VHDA or VH has is a grant. And grant is not a loan like on the first option, right? That was a loan, you have a mortgage payment on it, interest rate. Here it's a pure grant, it's free money that they would receive, and depending on the program, if they do in conventional or FHA, they would get either 2 or 2.5% grant. Again, it's not a lien against the house, it's not a mortgage, it's free money. They're basically getting this grant so they would have to put only 1% down essentially and pay the close.
That's great.
So it's a
Okay.
pretty good option.
Yeah.
Maryland also has their own program, MMP, so they can visit mmp.maryland.gov website, and they have different options here. They have down payment assistance loan, 5,000 or 3% down payment loan, or 4% 5. So which with each option, there's gonna be rate difference. There's gonna be um, income limit difference. So they just need to see which one works the best for this client. So
Okay.
I don't have slide for DC, but DC also has one that's called Open Doors. So you can check Open Door DC program. You can just Google it and get information on that. But besides this, main programs, each county has their own grants typically, or maybe it's a loan, but it could be forgiven loan in 5 years, or it could be in deferment for the duration of the loan. So there's so many different programs. I can't, of course, go over all of them, but you just, wherever you're looking at, you need to check maybe local county grants and see if their criteria meets you meet their criteria, your profile. One I want to show is a really good grant I really like. It's called Birdseed. It This grant, going back to VH grant, that grant stays throughout the year. With all other grants, they typically tends to run out of money at some point, and then you need to wait until they open up again. So the
Okay.
same with this Birdseed grant. They can give up to $15,000, and they're very easy to get because typically grants, they have their own little guidelines. They might say that your debt to income ratio cannot exceed this, or you have to work in this county for X amount of years to get this loan, or you have to have certain credit score. So these guys, they just saying, you can do conventional FHA, and you just follow their guidelines. We're not gonna tell you what to do with how to qualify people. The only thing that they need to qualify on is, they need to be first-time home buyers. Everybody has to be a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
And they have certain ethnicities that they would give the grants to. Right here you can see American Indians, Indigenous, Native Alaskans, Asians, Pacific Islanders, Black, African American, Hispanics, and Latins. I'm not sure.
Do both borrowers have to be one of those, or can it is it only one?
I'm not 100% sure, honestly. That's something that what happens is when the borrower contacts them, and those guys are actually very responsive
Yeah.
and easy to work with from lender standpoint, and I know that they interview them, so they go to interview. I guess they need to see a person, and the you can see the grant amount is from 5 to 15,000. So they have their own criteria. They probably look at income in a way, right? But that's something that they would advise the client on. And the property where they buy needs to be located in DC, Montgomery, or PG County, that's in Maryland, or Arlington, Fairfax County, and City of Alexandria and Falls Church. So it's a pretty good circle where clients can buy and qualify for this one. So I wanted to just mention this one. And again, the Google is is a king. Just check what they have in there, and if if it's something that it's interesting for you, and check which lenders work with those programs, because not all lenders would support special grants or programs.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And are they fairly easy to apply to? Do you know?
Well, I think it depends on like this the birdseed one. It's pretty easy. Some, especially when it's affordable dwelling units, and you have to get in line, and you have to
Okay.
go through interview and a process. So it all depends on the grant. To be honest with you.
Okay.
Well, I think this is really good that it follows a market report that we just did was 5 reasons to buy versus rent.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think
Yeah.
this is really good to follow that. And one of the things I think is important to mention, because, you know, first time home buyers, especially if they're coming from renting to buying, it's kind of like, oh, wait, what, you know, you're talking about grants that can not only make up for, grants and loans, right? That can not only make up for their down payment, but also some closing costs. And then can you also mention the time frame from when they close to when their first payment is due? Because that's very, very important for first time home buyers coming from renting to buying.
Yeah, basically it's always the same. You're gonna skip 1 month of payment. If you buy in November, your payment is gonna be due in January. So in a way, it depends on when you settle in November. It could seem like it's 2 months, right? Because
Yeah.
if you settle in the very beginning of November, you're gonna wait until January 1st to make payment. Sort of 2 months, but you know it's one because you skip in December.
And that can be a really big deal because I mean, if your rent's $1,500 a month and you close at the beginning of 1 month, like November 2nd, say, and then your first payment isn't due until January, it's like, woo, okay, that's good for moving, you know, rental trucks and you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That's
Would be a very
really
good break for them. Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So on all these grants and all these loans and everything, is a first-time home buyer defined the same way? So somebody who's never owned a home, or is it somebody who hasn't owned a home for a certain period of time? Because I know that there's some variance in that in some programs.
Yeah, it's a very good point. So every program has their own definition of first-time home buyer. For
Okay.
example, Virginia Housing, their definition of a first-time home buyer is someone who hasn't owned a home, a primary residence, for the past 3 years. So the caveat is primary residence. So someone who owns investment property, but currently, you know, renting something or living, you know, with relatives or something, they're first-time home buyers to qualify for VH program. Maryland program is, you know, you didn't own anything for 3 years. Some programs they say you might never own the home, like Birdseed is saying you have never owned the home. So
Like you're true first-time home buyer.
it's gonna vary depending on the grant or program. But typically, in general, even like to qualify for conventional, if they do a regular loan, remember I mentioned that they get discounted interest rate even if they put money down. The definition is you have not owned the property in the past 3 years.
Okay.
All right.
That's good.
Very good.
This is really great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to send this to the person that asked that question at the workshop.
Oh yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah. All right. And you know who you are when you receive it. Where am I supposed to be looking? All right. Okay. Anything else?
No. How did they get in touch with you?
They can call me at 571-245-3000.
All right.
That's
All right. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.